I'm gonna hop in a practice range. It doesn't actually matter where you are, but it's useful to do it here. And so I'm gonna talk about warming up your mechanical aim. And I'm gonna be using Widow as an example for this. Um, you don't have to do this with Widow, but it's best to do this with Hitscan.
One shot,
Um,
one kill.
and so the first thing you want to do before you start like shooting at things is start to move your mouse in a fluid but small manner. Like I'm doing very tiny figure eights with just as much control and small precision as I can. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go from dot to dot to dot, and I'm going to click on them. And the point here is that you are being fluid and smooth. You're not jerking, you're making very small movements, and you're just never firing until you are on target. And it's really useful doing just these little bolts here in the spawn for your initial warm-up for that purpose. And just pick a different bolt each time. Ideally, they're not horizontal and next to each other because that's a little too easy. And you just do this for like a minute. At first, this is slow, and you probably take your time and you like slowly move from one to one. But eventually, you'll flick, and you'll almost be there, and then it's a small correction. And that's the idea. And that's what you're going to be doing once you take bigger shots on actual targets. But the idea is that if you aim very small, you will miss by a very small margin. And so you don't want to be aiming even at the entire dot, but aiming at like the exact center, or like maybe you're aiming at like a specific spot, like this bottom right corner of the dot, right? Each time. Now, I would recommend always aiming at the center of these dots, because say when you're aiming here, you're aiming at the yellow dot on the bot here. You're not actually aiming at the head. You're aiming at this very precise spot, just the yellow dot. And you're never firing until that yellow dot. So the first few shots, you'll take your time, you relax, you acquire your target, and then you're gonna click on it, right? I fired too quick. I hate that it takes that long before you do enough damage as Widow, but it does. So I count, even though I headshot this spot here, I count it as a miss because I didn't click exactly on the yellow dot, right? Because these hitboxes are huge. He just went off around the corner there. But if you're aiming at something small, you're generally going to miss on the order of the thing that you are aiming at. So like this little brick on this like connector on the wall, right? If I'm aiming at something that size and I miss by something that is that size, you know what I mean? On that order of magnitude, in any direction away from it, from that spot, that still, since I'm aiming at a small target, is gonna be the size of the head. So you're missing your shot, but you're still getting a headshot. Does that make sense? So you're never just aiming at a head. You're aiming at like the right eyeball of McCree. If that makes sense. Aim small, miss small. There's a reason that's the same. So now that I've done this, like I don't know, basic hit scan warm up with Widow. The next thing you want to do after you've gotten that simple thing down is to pick something like Tracer, and then incorporate movement into it around an object. Like you're picking, like in this case, I'm picking this like little caution symbol, and I'm move around and keep that in the center of my screen. At different distances, changes the angle. It's different. You know what I mean? The rate of change is different. The idea is that if you always pick this thing, keeping it in your center of vision, even with your juking, and blinking and reacquiring a target, and then keeping it in the center of your screen. This is going to help you quickly acquire a target and keep on that target in battle. And so that's what we're doing here. Even if you're not going to be playing Tracer, you're not going to be playing as Widow, you're going to be warming up with these characters in a mechanical sense, purely mechanical sense. And the idea here is that there's going to be a target. You're gonna get them to this middle of your screen. You're gonna keep them on your screen. I'm not actually trying to aim this shot. Now I may have my cursor on their head, but I'm not actually trying to do that. I'm just trying to keep them in the center of my screen as I jump, as I blink in different directions. That's all I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to look at them. Don't actually necessarily be aiming the shot. Just look at them. Just pick a target, look at that target. Try to juke it out. But don't let yourself miss, right? So on real targets, the way that's going to work is that you're going to see a person, you're going to look at them, and then from this stable position, even though you're moving, you can say you're missing, you're like looking at them, but like you're looking at the side. From here, now you've got a stable position, now you can flick to their head. And then you'll be there. So you're blinking along, you're doing whatever, you see a target, you acquire them, then you flick to their head and you stay on their head based on their movement, and you clean them up. And so let's do this. It should actually look like you're aimbotting, the way that you acquire a target and then track that target, if you're doing it properly. So, like, I don't know. If you're doing it properly, you should get like banned from CSGO servers, you know what I mean? And these are mechanics that work for all FPS games. I'm just using Overwatch as an example here, because a lot of people play it, and that's what I've been playing recently. The first shot the Tracer fires is 100% accurate. Like, see how it hits exactly the spot I'm aiming on the wall? But all future shots are not. So if you tap fire, you can like kill widows with that very, like a hurt widow that's really far away. Like you see that little orange thing? It's not gonna spread and hit anything but that orange thing. See how it's waving back and forth? The second shot started to hit this, but all the other ones were kept in here. So that's the idea. Something you want to keep in mind, this is really important, this is going to be a bit of mathematics here, is that you are aiming in a polar coordinate system where there's a vertical axis that runs through your character and you can't aim through, right? That's why you only aim up, and then it stops. It doesn't keep going because you've hit the vertical axis. Now, even though you're moving side to side, all you're drawing is an arc. And so you got to remember down here, you may be moving your at an angle, and it's going to be mapped very close to the Cartesian equivalent that you're moving. Say your mouse pad is a Cartesian grid, right? And you move it like 3 inches to the right and 1 inch up, right? It's going to be like the same, right? But if you're up here, because the angles are different, you move 3 to the right and then up is a completely different amount of space than if it's down here. Because up here you're drawing an unlimited arc. And so this is why if a Pharah flies directly above you, you're not going to be able to hit that shot unless you actually also practice at these obscure angles for tracking as well. And so you want to be able to do that. Another useful hint here is to track the motion and match it with whatever you are fighting and trying to dodge you. So it's called matching. There's 3 basic mechanical skills you need to get down. First is having smooth, fluid target acquiring, and the faster you do that, it becomes to be a flick. But the idea is that if you're not having a smooth base, you can't have an accurate flick. Like, what the fuck was that? That's what happens when you're flicking, and it's not a controlled like target acquisition. Alright, so you've got that smooth target acquiring where you don't fire until you're on target. That's the first part that you warm up. Second part is just keeping something in your frame the entire time. Adjusting for your own movement, right? Tracking. And then there's matching, where you're actually matching the movement of the other players so that you don't have to aim as much. Because the idea is that you only have to aim to acquire your target, and then you shouldn't have to continue to aim if you can match their movement. So, do all that, and it gets a lot easier. Now, these training bots have huge hitboxes, which is really forgiving, and that's why I try to only aim at the yellow dot, like I was saying earlier. But, yeah, there you go. And this is how you can hit, like, 5 Widow hook shots in a row on real players if you ever want to. You know, I'm not even a Widow player, but my first time in a Widow headshot only server, but I fucking did. All because I do mechanical and warm-ups. So there you go. That should be about it. Have fun, frag out, have a good day. Cyclops headed out.